Today we're talking about the Volkswagen Golf versus the Honda Civic. We'll drive through each one's evolution through the years. We'll also see which model years to consider and which to avoid if you're buying used. So hop in and let's get going. Most people are familiar with the iconic Volkswagen Beetle. Volkswagen has made more than 22 million Beetles to date. But did you know that the Volkswagen Golf has outsold even the Beetle? More than 35 million Golfs have been made since it was released 47 years ago. In fact, the Golf is the second best-selling car of all time. It's second after the Toyota Corolla, over 45 million units which have been produced. Today, Volkswagen builds 2,000 Golfs every single day. It was 1974, so the year that Volkswagen released the Golf. The Volkswagen Golf was designed by renowned Italian automobile designer Giorgetto Giugiaro. This is the man who helped design the Ferrari 250 GT SWB Bertone, Maserati Ghibli, Lotus Esprit S1, and the DMC Valerian. It was back in 1970 when Giorgetto was invited to the Volkswagen headquarters to work on a project development. Back then it was known as EA337. The project would later become the Mark I Golf. Volkswagen intended the Golf to succeed the Beetle. Sales of the Beetle was at a slump at the time, so it was a prime time to create a new vehicle. They veered away from the curvy form of the Beetle and made the Golf angular. This is where round became square. Giorgetto's design reflected his signature origami or folded paper style, which emphasized sharp corners and flat surfaces. It's easy to see this angular style, especially in the earliest models, which included rectangular headlights and wide taillight assemblies. It was the first Volkswagen car to use a front transverse engine layout and front-wheel drive, and see the introduction of a water-cooled engine and heater. While it wasn't the most impressive model Giorgetto created, it certainly set the tone for all subsequent Golf generations. Tests of the first Mark I began from October 1974. Over 3 months, 2 Golf Mark I's traveled the entire North American continent from Alaska all the way to Tierra del Fuego in South America at the tip. We're talking a quick and long road trip of 19,000 miles in just 3 months. It was a good road test, but also a clever marketing scheme. The prototype was called the Blizzard. It was later marketed as the Rabbit and also the Carib before they finally settled on the name Golf. There are a few different stories on how they landed on the name Golf. According to one story, Volkswagen is just obsessed with winds and current. After all, they have the Passat, which means trade wind in German. Then there's the Jetta, which means jet stream. Volkswagen also has the Scirocco and the Bora, both of which are Mediterranean winds. So the story goes that the Golf is tied to the Gulf Stream. But another story alleges that Volkswagen named the car after the sport of golfing. It fits Volkswagen's sports theme, which includes the Volkswagen Polo and the Volkswagen Derby. There's no official story behind the naming behind the Golf GTI either. The general theory is that the GTI is probably the abbreviation for the Italian phrase Gran Turismo Iniezione, which translates to Grand Tour Injection in English. Volkswagen originally planned on producing only 5,000 units, mainly just to cover the cost of the car's development and production. No one expected at the time they'd end up making more than 460,000 units, which was 92 times more than planned. Since then, 7 generations of the GTI have followed. Successive generations produced more power. Let's skip to the 4th generation. It appeared in 1998, and it was the first GTI to have a turbocharged gasoline engine. Then came the Mark V. Fan called this the comeback model. It was a refresh of the GTI line. It had more style, it was fast, it was practical. It had a 2-liter turbocharged engine with a 6-speed manual transmission, and its output of 200 horsepower accelerated to 60 miles an hour in 7.2 seconds. Later, when this transmission was replaced by a dual clutch transmission, it reduced the acceleration time to 60 miles per hour in 6.9 seconds with a maximum speed of 146 miles per hour, which wasn't bad at the time. The 2022 Golf GTI is part of the 8th generation, and it has more technology and improved performance. Its 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine is capable of producing 241 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. The 7-speed dual-clutch DSG automatic transmission allows the car to go from 0 to 60 in just 5.1 seconds, with a top speed of 155 miles per hour. By the way, ever wonder dual clutch transmissions differ from conventional manual or automatic transmissions? Most people know there are 2 main types of transmission. Well, a dual clutch transmission is a cross between the two. It's classified as an automatic manual transmission without a clutch pedal. There are also sometimes called semi-automatic transmissions or sequential manual transmissions. They're widely used in the car racing world, but not so much in mass-produced production vehicles. With a conventional manual transmission, there isn't a continuous supply of power from the engine to the wheels. When shifting between the odd and even gears, power delivery changes from on to off and back to on again. This causes something known as shift shock or torque interrupt. If you've ever ridden as a passenger in the back and you've experienced the jerking push forward or backwards when the driver changes gears, a dual clutch transmission or DCT, in contrast, uses two clutches but does not have a clutch pedal. Sophisticated electronics and hydraulics operate the clutches just like a standard automatic transmission. But with the DCT, the clutches operate independently. One clutch controls the odd gears in reverse, while the others control the even gears. This allows for instant gear changes and constant power delivery without loss of power. It delivers the most dynamic acceleration of any vehicle on the market at 8 milliseconds. It makes for smoother acceleration and eliminates the shifting shock. Some experts say a 6-speed DCT can improve fuel economy of up to 10% over a conventional 5-speed automatic transmission. But now let's shift gears to look at the Honda Civic and talk about some of its notable milestones. It was the early 1970s and Honda debuted the Civic. Back then, it was a humble but efficient car, originally offered as a 3-door hatchback and sedan. Honda sold nearly 33,000 Civics their very first year. In 1975, Honda began equipping the Civic with a compound vortex-controlled combustion engine. The EPA ranked the Honda Civic at the top of its list of most fuel-efficient cars. Fast forward almost 10 years, 1984, and Honda released the third-generation Civic. It was bigger, sportier, and had better fuel economy than the previous generations. And the Civic CRX and the Civic Si hatchback appeared in Japan first, along with the Civic station wagon, which became known as the Tall Boy due to increased headroom and large rear glass. The Honda brought production of the Civic to the United States. The fifth-generation Civic appeared in the early 1990s. It immediately drew attention because it now featured an engine with variable valve timing known as VTEC. Honda also began focusing on safety features, adding passenger side airbags to all Civic models and optional anti-lock brake. In the second half of the 90s, Honda's released the sixth-generation Civic. This generation included a completely redesigned 106 horsepower engine. It also introduced the natural gas Civic GX, and America finally got its hand on the Honda Civic Si, which had debuted in Japan 3 years earlier. Honda entered the dawn of the new millennium with the seventh-generation Civic. The Civic grew from a subcompact to a compact car. In the U.S., Honda launched the first Civic Hybrid and Special Edition package for its sedan and coupe models. In 2012, Honda introduced the ninth-generation Civic. There were many technical upgrades and modern features that were unusual for a compact car at that time. 2016 saw the 10th generation Civic. This was the first Civic to be turbocharged. It also saw the turbocharged Civic Type R, which output 306 horsepower. The Type R became the fastest front-wheel drive production car at the Nürburgring, breaking a new world lap record. The latest generation of the Civic is in its 11th generation. 2022 model is being offered in both sedan and hatchback versions. On the exterior, the 2022 Civic now closely resembles the Accord. The new Civic is also offered exclusively as a front-wheel drive vehicle with a continuously variable automatic transmission or CVT, although a 6-speed manual transmission is still available on the hatchback model. According to the EPA, the new Civic has a combined fuel economy rating of 34 miles per gallon, where it's 31 miles per gallon city and 38 miles per gallon highway. If you're looking to buy used, which model years are worth considering and which should you avoid? Let's start with the Honda Civic. If you're looking for a used Civic, the 2014 model. It had very few customer complaints and most were minor. 2012 Civic also had just a few complaints against it, although mostly they were uncomfortable seats. In addition, the 8th generation Civic, including the model years 2006 to 11, are generally a good bet. In terms of Civic models that might be the least reliable, let's start with the year 2001. The biggest problem with the 01 was the transmission, ranging from failing to engage, jerking, or jumping out of gear. The worst one saw some drivers even experience the loss of power while driving. In fact, Honda issued about 27 recalls for this particular year model. Also, about 6 million units were recalled because of a serious driver's side airbag problem that caused sharp metal fragments to fly towards the driver when the airbags were deployed. Honda also later recalled 3 million 2001 Civics due to a similar issue with their passenger side Takata airbags. The 2016 Civic is also a model year you might want to be cautious about. There have been reports of AC failure after just 36,000 miles. Oftentimes, even after repair, problems with the AC units weren't totally resolved. This model also had wires made with a soy-based coating, which attracts and mice who like to chew on them, leaving an electrical problem. The cost of replacing damaged wires and coils can be a bit under $1,000. But now let's look at the used Volkswagen Golf. Oftentimes, model years within the same generation face similar problems or issues since major design changes happen between generations, not necessarily between each each model year. Generally speaking, I take caution with the Golf Mark V generation or earlier, and look at the Mark VI or newer. By the way, the 2021 year model is the last year that the Volkswagen Golf will be available in the US. It will be replaced by sports versions of the GTI and Volkswagen R. As far as the GTI is concerned, you might want to take caution with the 2010 and 2012 GTI models. The 2012 has been considered the worst Volkswagen GTI model year. Since models of a generation often share similar problems, if you want to simplify things, then perhaps just avoid the 6th generation GTIs in 2009 to 2014. This generation saw breakdowns with the DSG direct shift gearbox. The 2015 and 2016 GTIs were deemed some of the most unreliable model years and have been known to suffer from catastrophic turbo failures. But now you tell me, what do you prefer, the Volkswagen Golf or the Honda Civic? Do you have any funny or horror stories with either car? Please comment below and share. If you've liked this episode, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for your support.